Well, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says more than 60 Daesh militants and regime soldiers have been killed in fighting in Aleppo in the last 24 hours. Regime forces are trying to advance to the town of Makana, the last Daesh stronghold in the north. Regime forces launched an offensive to recapture towns and villages in Aleppo province more than 4 months ago with the support of Shia militias and the Russian Air Force. Now, earlier, my colleague spoke to Soraya Lennie, who is following the UN-backed peace talks in Geneva. She began by asking her the current state of the delegation of the Syrian opposition.
Well, this all happened late last night in a fluster of what seemed like internal bickering within the opposition, within the Free Syrian Army. Now, we know that some delegates signalled their intention to pull out of these talks. They were very unhappy about the direction they were going in, and they felt very marginalised. But come the break of dawn, it seems like everything's been resolved. Talks are going ahead today as scheduled with the UN envoy Staffan de Mistura, who is the one who's brokering these talks. Of course, they're not direct yet, and not at this stage. They're simply between the opposition and the United Nations and the regime and the United Nations.
Now, Soraya, these were fresh talks, perhaps with some sort of high expectation, but they certainly have got off to a stumbling start. Has there been any progress at all?
Well, I think it really depends, Sally, on what your definition of progress is. We know that in 6 rounds of talks, the Syrian regime has refused to discuss anything but terrorism and counter-terrorism. Now, there are 4 baskets, if you will, or 4 talking points, terrorism being the 4th one. But this is the first time in this round that the regime has actually agreed to talk about something else. And what they're going to talk about is the new constitution. This was a development that happened yesterday with the Syrian regime confirming that it had appointed experts, technical experts, to discuss this new constitution with Staffan de Mistura. But the problem lies with the opposition. They say that they're not going to appoint technical experts, that it's the political wing and the negotiators who should be the ones doing the talking on this particular issue. So it really does depend, I suppose, on what you define as progress. And I did ask the Syrian regime envoy here, the head of the negotiating team, Bashar al-Jafari, whether or not these talks were actually a waste of time. Now, his answer was, ask Staffan de Mistura. A cynical mind might say that what he really meant to say was yes.
Well, Iraq's military command says troops are closing in on Mosul's old city, where a large number of Daesh militants are believed to be holed up. Iraqi forces have captured 4 neighborhoods from Daesh this week. Activists say the upcoming fight in the old city will be the final phase of the Mosul offensive, but will also be the most dangerous. Daesh fighters have set up strong defenses in the area, and the narrow streets there will limit the use of military vehicles.